Do you want to lead a profitable advertising strategy rather than micromanage it? Do you want to take the guesswork out of PPC or expand your advertising in other countries and languages? Then you're in the right place. At Databrill, our team of technical marketers and data scientists have poured years of experience into building the most powerful international automation tools for Amazon-sponsored ads. Our tools can handle large accounts with thousands of ad campaigns and millions of keywords across many languages. The total result is increased sales and reduced ACOS. And in contrast to most agencies, our pricing is based on an inexpensive flat rate. So get in touch today. Visit sellersessions.com/agency for more details.
Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, we bring back Dan Shaw. Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks again for having me back.
No worries. Okay guys, so a couple of weeks ago we was having a bit of a debate about selling on and off of Amazon and how difficult it can be unless you understand where the road lies ahead. Dan is my go-to SEO guy. He's very smart. He's got his own podcast. He'll explain a bit more himself. So do you want to give a little bit of background on yourself?
Absolutely. I'll do the real quick version. I started as a musician, kind of like yourself. You're a DJ. And went to school for music, classical piano, etc., blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, I needed to make money once I left school. Classical piano is not the degree to make a lot of money, for anybody wondering out there. So I need to set up shop to teach piano lessons, but I needed a way to find students. And that's when I turned to the internet. I used Craigslist. I actually programmed HTML into Craigslist ads. And that's when I built my own website and turned to SEO. And SEO is what's responsible for half of my studio or more of my income at that time. Then I used SEO to help my dad with his businesses. He has an e-commerce website that I built from scratch. And then fast forward some more, I started helping some other friends, piano tuners, other music schools. And then I just knew that I loved SEO the most out of all the website stuff. I'm colorblind, so you don't want me designing anything. I'm not like a great programmer. It's kind of like hacking things together with duct tape. So the SEO really fit well because I like marketing, I like being creative, I like understanding the technical things, but I'm not really like a designer or a developer. So fast forward some more, I got into like the SEO Moz community and some of like the local SEO communities here. I started getting some more clients, and since then I've worked with companies like, for example, Ring Video Doorbell, who was just acquired by Amazon. I worked with them for a little while, working with WGBH right now in Boston, their Boston's NPR channel. And many other e-commerce sites, all kinds of companies. So that's kind of my quick, it's 20 years in about 1 minute.
Excellent. Cool. All right. So let me give you some scenarios though. So we imagine you've got an Amazon seller that they've hit that stage of doing, say, 100 grand a month. They've been selling on Amazon. That's their first point of call. They've not really done commerce outside of Amazon. When you're using Amazon sponsored ads, it's pretty much straightforward. It's easier to deal with than using Google AdWords and Facebook ads in terms of targeting. Now, one of the biggest things I think people need to understand is the road ahead of developing an SEO plan, what to do, how to achieve this. So to give an example, let's say someone's selling spatulas or they're selling something in home and kitchen on Amazon, and they want to move these products over and build their own store. What would you do in terms of the first part of the planning before launch?
Are we assuming this person has any flexibility with the products, or are they kind of set? Are your listeners set on what they're selling, or can we explore?
We should explore. Yeah, we should explore both, because one of the key points I brought up before is that you need the right type of products to sell online. Just because they work on Amazon, it doesn't mean they're going to work on a commerce store. So let's look at a two-pronged approach.
So the key focus, I think, of your strategy for selling products off of Amazon and on your own site is a content marketing type approach. Now, are these people selling their own products, or are they selling affiliate products, or a mix of both?
They'll be selling their own private label products that normally they're bringing in, say, from China, or they have domestic manufacturing underway on them.
Their own private label. Yeah, so depending upon the competition, let's talk about that for a moment. So if you're in a certain area like spatulas, the first thing I determine is if that market is too competitive and it's way out of reach. So I would just think of some keywords that you might want to rank for, similar in Amazon, but in Google: spatulas for sale, home kitchen tools for sale, etc. Search those in Google, and this is going to be really rough and broad, but you can use like a keyword tool like SEMrush. to look at the keyword difficulty. And again, this is super broad. We're like broad stroking things here. But if you search your particular term and there's a keyword difficulty in SEMrush of like 70 or 80 or higher, just sort of in a broad way, that's very competitive. Similarly, if you go to Google and you search spatulas and you turn on something like the Moz toolbar, which will show you in Google the domain authorities of all the other sites ranking, and you're seeing like 80, 90, 75, like super high domain authority sites that are approaching 100, that's a pretty competitive market too. Now don't stop there. You might want to dig a little and see if there's some content marketing terms or things related around this topic, maybe recipes or maybe health articles or something like that. You're just trying to figure out if there's actually a space for you to compete and be able to rank within a typical time period. In SEO, you're looking at like a 6 to 18 to 24 month time period of really building that momentum and equity. If you're seeing these really high numbers, either domain authority or keyword difficulty, I mean, you'd be looking at, a 2+ year to really ramp up to like a level that I think any shop owner would be favorable of.
Yeah. So would you say then at the very beginning that people getting into this is that before actually investing in the store, what should they mark out on paper and try and understand first, like their positioning? Can you detail how a content marketing plan would work for that person's website and give some ideas of generating content?
Absolutely. So again, if you're selling home kitchen tools, you don't want to think around the types of customers that are going to likely buy your product. What types of informational content are they searching for? So, in all search, we bucket things into informational and transactional. And so to develop a content marketing plan, you don't literally have to do an article like how to use a spatula, why you use a spatula. Like you can go to other broad topics that bring in your target audience. So what I would do is a few things. I would just start brainstorming. Like if you've ever done a mind map, you start with your main topic in the middle and you just start going free thought, free form association. Just get it all out on paper. So spatula, okay, eggs, pans, frying pans, stove, kitchen, house. Like you just start doing all that and mapping it out because you're going to get the ideas flowing. But then from there, you want to try to collect maybe 5 to 10 broad topic areas that you're going to cover in your content marketing plan. And by broad, I just mean recipes, like something kind of a very umbrella term. Yeah. And with all of those, I would do a few things. I would assess a general search volume or search demand for those. So, for example, I've had clients come to me and they're like, oh, I want to publish something on this topic, but then you go to the AdWords keyword tool or you look at the search volume in SEMrush and it's like 10 searches a month. And you can't build a whole content strategy around a topic that's just not big enough. And so that's the first thing you need to do, especially if we're in a little more of a niche topic. Make sure there's demand. So that's number one. Number two, once you've kind of decided the general area of products you want to sell, then you can assess at a more granular level the competition for those products. And so again, you can choose whatever keywords you want, look at a keyword difficulty tool like an SEMrush, or look at what's ranking already. The other way to assess competition that's a little different than domain authority is what I call a relevance gap. You've seen this in Amazon too, I'm sure, where if you search for a particular topic in Google, but there's really not anything relevant ranking, that's a huge gap actually. And a Google engineer, in fact, has said that's sort of their number one ranking consideration is relevance. It makes sense, right? That's the biggest gap of them all. So if you're doing this kind of research and you just see no one's really covering, how to use a KitchenAid or like whatever that term is, then that's a great area to keep pursuing a little bit more.
Cool. And so realistically, once you've got your plan down, you're working on the in terms of value of search volume. Well, obviously, if it's got low search volume, then that's going to be a difficult area to work in. But where would you find that happy medium from 10 searches a month to 100,000? What would be an optimal? What would you kind of aim for? I know we're being arbitrary here with numbers, but where would you aim?
So I would begin with the end in mind. I would think about your product. How many of those products a month do you want to sell to give yourself a positive revenue or a positive ROI? How many, think of like a roughly 2% conversion rate, let's say, and then backtrack, how much traffic do you need to get that? right? So then you're going to back into a traffic number. So that's the goal you're trying to figure out. So let's say you want to sell, $1,000 of products. That's going to require 10 sales, which is going to require, 2,000 visits or something like that. So that's your goal number, 2,000 visits a month. Now what you can do is find a way to get to that number through pieces of content. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to tell you in 1 second, there's a way to actually figure out how much traffic a potential article might get versus just search volume. So now we're going to bring it into the concrete out of the abstract.
Yeah.
But let's say you lay out 20 pieces of content marketing. And out of those 20 pieces of content marketing, you're expecting to get 100 visits a month from each article. Mm-hmm. Now, that's going to, if I did my math right, no, that's 2,000. That's, let's say you're going to get 1,000 visits a month. That's going to bring you to your goal traffic number, which I forget what I even said a minute ago, whatever that was. But we're basically just trying to go from revenue through conversion rate to your traffic number to how much content you need to publish. Now, here's how to figure out how much traffic a particular piece of content might get. Let's say you've chosen a keyword, how to make eggs. And you search that in Google and you find the current top ranked article that's the most relevant for how to cook eggs. So this process, there's a little bit of an art to it, but you don't want to choose just like Wikipedia that's ranking for just eggs alone, right? You want to choose something that's specific enough that's highly ranked. You're going to take that article and go to a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs and plug it in there. And that tool is going to show you estimated how much traffic they're probably getting from Google per month. Because you can't just go by one keyword to compute traffic, because as you know, there's all the long tail stuff. I'm sure you see this in Amazon too. And so this tool is giving you a rough traffic estimate. What I typically see is these tools are about half of the actual traffic level. So if everyone's been following along and connecting all the dots, let me give you a concrete example. You pull the top ranked article for how to make eggs, you throw in an SEMrush, it says that article is getting 2,000 visits a month. They're probably getting 3,000 to 4,000 visits a month. If you want to be conservative, fine, you can just say 2,000. But now you've got a topic, how to make eggs, where you can say, if I were to rank number one for this or rank very highly, I would probably get about 2,000 visits a month for that one article. So now you have a way to go, here's my number of articles, here's how much traffic they might get. If I post all of them and they rank well, that's going to ultimately result in this sum of traffic.
Right, okay, yeah. So just backing up a little bit here. So the people are going to sit down and try and work this out on paper, or they put it into a spreadsheet. They've got these separate columns in terms of, well, okay, in this column here is going to be all the titles for the example of the traffic that we're going after. Here's all the tools that we've run to show you the search volume for these traffic. Here's the estimated traffic. And then you're going to look at a guidance in terms of conversion rate that you would like to try and to achieve based on this traffic.
Yeah, and keep in mind, content marketing isn't always converting traffic, but what we're doing here with content marketing and the way SEO works in general is driving all this traffic related to your topic to your website is going to increase the rankings of your product pages. So on one hand over here, you have spatula for sale. On the other hand over here, you have 20 articles about kitchens and cooking and etc. Even if you're not specifically optimizing and promoting this spatulas for sale page, all of these article traffic metrics are going to drive relevance to that as long as you're linking over to it and the website's set up correctly, etc. So we're not only trying to get traffic from the content marketing, we're actually trying to get that flywheel moving of authority for your SEO. I had a client that sells pianos, which is a very high-end product, and they posted a few blog posts about iPad piano apps and how to decorate around a piano. And all these articles are starting to really shoot up in traffic. We didn't do much promotion on the product pages, but those product pages, if you segment them out, their traffic's going up as well. Because we're just building the relevance. So that's a lot of what this content marketing strategy is all about when it comes to SEO.
Cool. And so when we got to that stage of we've got all the keywords now, the one thing we haven't covered as well is that when we come to compose all the content is to waterfall the search terms in there. So obviously you've got your main keywords at the top that go in the title, etc. Do you want to break that down and how that gets woven into the content?
Yeah, it's actually very simple nowadays. As long as the focus is on creating a high quality piece of content, and I'll get to that in a minute, but let's say how to cook eggs. That's what I call a top target keyword. So in any article, you're going to have like dozens or hundreds or thousands of keywords, but choose the top target one. That's the most relevant and the highest volume. That's your top target keyword. That goes in your title tag. That goes in your URL. Maybe it goes on the main heading, and obviously it's going to go into content if that's what the page is about. Guess what? That's it.
Yeah.
There's no keyword stuffing anymore. Now, with that said, there's a counterintuitive approach to this, which your listeners can do is after they publish a piece of content, they can go to Google Search Console, see the individual search queries that article's ranking for, and then go back and add those into the article, the ones that have the highest volume. So it's kind of like reverse SEO. It's a reverse SEO process. You post it, let it collect data, and then use that data and then make the post better.
Okay, and so when we start to implement that, because there's content seeding, which we haven't covered yet. So you've got the post. What is the best way to seed the content if you've only got a small audience?
Now, by seed the content, do you mean promote it?
Yes, yeah.
So in some cases, and with many clients, especially if you have a higher domain authority site, so we'll talk starting from scratch in a second, but if somebody has a site that's been around even for a year, it's got a domain authority of 20 or 30, I don't do anything. I just post the content. And by having that content linked internally into the website so Google can crawl it and they see it's part of the site, maybe it's in your blog, that's sometimes all that needs to happen, and it will rank if you've done a good job at your competitive analysis. Now, with that said, if you want to and you need to promote the content elsewhere, Facebook ads is the number one way. It's the best way to. I've seen Facebook ads promoted to a piece of content make that content rank better. So that's a great way to get some low-cost traffic and increase the rankings of your content. Categorically speaking, I guess, what do you think might maybe interest your audience the most? Are we talking paid? Are we talking social? Are we talking outreach?
Well, I think if you look at the audience that say have only focused on working based on Amazon and not really sold off Amazon, everything they do from here on out is new to them. So if they don't already do Facebook ads, that's going to be a new platform they need to learn to use to promote the content. I was just wondering, other than posting on their own Facebook pages and say an Instagram where they're snapping shots of their cutlery or whatever they're selling, what would you say is some good examples of free ways of getting the content out there?
Free ways to get content out there. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much your audience is going to like this, but the more you go free, the more you've got to put the work in, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I mean, big picture is ultimately, the best way to do is build an audience over time, like you're doing with this podcast, right? I mean, I have a large Twitter following, a following on YouTube, so I can just put stuff out there and it spreads. So, but if you don't have an audience and you're looking to go for free, I mean, you still got to put in the groundwork. I would say outreach is your best, email outreach is your best way to get content out there. If you're going to use outreach to promote content, meaning just emailing people, the content needs to be developed with that end thing in mind to begin with. You can't just make a, how to make eggs article and then expect that it's going to do well on outreach. You have to choose a focused persona or type of audience that you want to reach out to. Yeah. You're going to give them something valuable, and then create the content to begin with that in mind. Yeah. Sometimes that's a little at odds with what's going to rank well in Google. So you got to keep that in mind too. You might use some content for outreach to promote yourself, but some content for Google and keep it separate.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I asked that question was to play devil's advocate, because there's only so many hours in the day. And I'm a big advocate that if you're selling on Amazon, understand what it's like to sell off of Amazon as well. I'm not saying people shouldn't sell off Amazon, but this discussion here shows that there's part of it is the complexity, and more importantly, the time it takes to achieve these kind of results. Because you think about it, you could launch a new product on Amazon, or you could sit there and do content marketing on a daily basis. You could churn high quality posts, but it might take you most of your day, and there's no guarantee of those results. So we go back to that free thing. What is free? So then you move to the next stage, is that you've got paid acquisition, which comes at a cost, and again is another skill set. So again, I'm not putting the audience off from going off of Amazon, but I think what's key is working out is your products right to and ripe to sell on your own store? That's going to be key. Going through the steps of understanding what's involved in terms of putting a content plan together, whether your products have that right level of demand, and whether you can find the relevancy spot and niche for you to operate to do content marketing.
I'll give you a few more free things too, by the way. You can think about repurposing. So if you make a piece of content that's highly visual, make that a Pinterest board, turn it into slides and put it on SlideShare. I had a client that just recently took 5 old articles he had just sitting there, put them on medium.com, just literally cut and paste, put them on medium.com. And this gets a little technical, but you can use a tab that will give your site credit back to it. He's getting thousands of views on Medium, but now his content's ranking better and he's getting referral traffics from Medium. So you can double up on your content marketing work by just doing a little repurposing and thinking about how you can take one piece of content and put that on another platform. One last free thing, if it aligns with your product and your topics, I'm a huge fan of Quora.com and going in and answering questions. I spent 2 hours on a Friday night, random Friday night, answering questions in Quora, and I got like 2,000 impressions on all of those answers within a week, meaning that I'm just adding quick little answers, like people are asking what podcast do I like or things like that. You go in and answer, and you can link to your stuff there, but try to not be too
too spammy,
sleazy about it. But that's a great, free, easy way if you're willing to spend an extra hour or two just in Quora.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Well, look, let's wrap it there. And in part 2, we can discuss more in depth in terms of the website itself and do information architecture, the structure there. We can talk about canonical URLs, etc. What's the best way people can reach you for now?
So I'm most accessible on Twitter, DAN_SHURE. And if people want to check out and learn more about SEO, my podcast, Experts on the Wire, is on all the podcast places. We have guests from Rand Fishkin, who founded Moz, to John Mueller, who's a web analyst at Google, to Noah Kagan, founder of Sumo. So a lot of great guests. We talk about technical stuff. We talk about content. We talk about sometimes stuff that's not purely SEO. Like I had a guest on that talked about how to develop a content creation process, and that might be good actually for your listeners right now. So yeah, lots of good stuff to check out there.
Excellent. Dan, thanks for coming in. Guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.